A few years ago, a chain of surgeries swept across the United States. A kidney was removed from a woman in California and flown overnight to a man in Ohio. The next morning, that man's wife gave one of her kidneys to a teenager 2 states away. The teenager's father gave his to a stranger he would never meet. On and on it went, donor, recipient, until more than 70 people, almost none of whom had ever spoken, were linked into a single, life-saving relay. Nobody arranged this by hand. No doctor sat down and worked out who should give to whom. It was solved by an algorithm, a piece of mathematics so powerful it won a Nobel Prize, and so quietly woven into modern life that the same idea decides which school your child attends and which hospital your doctor trained at. This is the story of the most important algorithm you have probably never heard of, and how a problem tangled up with love and biology was untangled with pure math. To see why we even need an algorithm, start with a situation that plays out thousands of times a year. Someone you love is dying of kidney failure. The good news is that a healthy person can live a completely normal life with just one kidney, so you volunteer to give them one of yours. The bad news comes back from the lab. You are not a match. Kidneys have to be compatible. Blood types and immune markers have to line up, and roughly 1 in 3 willing donors is turned away for being incompatible with the very person they are trying to save. So now, there are 2 of you, a patient who needs a kidney and a donor whose kidney is useless to that patient, but perfectly good for someone else. And here's the crucial part. All across the country, there are thousands of other pairs caught in exactly the same trap. Each one has a kidney to give, and a kidney they desperately need, but the wires are crossed. Everyone is holding the right key to the wrong lock. The obvious fix would be a market. If you have something I need, and I have something you need, normally we just buy and sell. But here we hit a wall. In almost every country on Earth, it is illegal to buy or sell a human organ. Only Iran has a legal market for kidneys. Everywhere else, the law says your organs cannot carry a price tag, and most people feel, deep down, that this is right. A world where the wealthy simply purchase the kidneys of the poor is not a world many of us want to live in. But that leaves economists with a genuinely strange puzzle. You have supply. You have demand. You have people who would all be better off after a trade. And you have banned the one tool, money, that markets normally use to bring them together. So the question becomes almost philosophical. Can you build a market with no money inside it? Can you match supply to demand using nothing but the trades themselves? Remarkably, the answer turned out to be yes. Here is the first move, and it is beautifully simple. Take 2 incompatible pairs. In the first, the donor cannot give to her own husband, but it happens that her kidney is a perfect match for the patient in the second pair. And the second pair's donor? His kidney is a perfect match for the first pair's patient. Neither pair can solve its problem alone, but cross them over, her kidney to their patient, his kidney to her husband, and suddenly 2 people who were out of options both receive a transplant on the same day. This is called a paired exchange, and the first ones were performed in the early 2000s. But now look closer, because this is where it stops being simple. With thousands of pairs in the pool, the number of possible swaps explodes. Pair A might match pair B, who matches C, who loops right back to A. The matches form a vast, tangled web, and hidden somewhere inside it is the single arrangement that saves the most lives. Finding it by hand is hopeless. This is where you need an algorithm. And the algorithm does something even cleverer than swapping pairs. It builds chains. It starts with a rare and remarkable person, a non-directed donor. Someone who walks into a hospital and offers a kidney to a complete stranger, expecting absolutely nothing in return. That single act of generosity becomes the first domino. The Good Samaritan's kidney goes to a patient whose own donor, now freed of their obligation, gives a kidney to the next patient in line, whose donor passes it forward again and again and again. Because the surgeries do not all have to happen on the same day, these chains can stretch on for weeks and cross the entire country. One stranger's kidney can trigger a cascade that saves dozens of lives. The longest chains have linked more than 70 people. And the mathematics that decides the order, who gives to whom and when, descends from an idea published back in 1962 called the stable matching algorithm. Its job is to find pairings so well arranged that no two people would ever both prefer to swap. Stable, optimal, and computed in seconds. That 1962 idea came from two mathematicians, David Gale and Lloyd Shapley, who were studying something with nothing to do with kidneys: how to pair people for marriage so that the matches would actually last. Their algorithm guaranteed a stable set of pairings every single time. For decades, it was admired as elegant, but abstract. Then an economist named Alvin Roth realized it was secretly everywhere. He used it to repair the system that assigns graduating medical students to hospitals, the match that decides where nearly every doctor in America begins their career. He used it to place children into public schools in New York and Boston, replacing chaotic systems that families had learned to game. And he used it to build the kidney exchanges that now save thousands of lives every year. In 2012, Roth and Shapley were awarded the Nobel Prize in economics. The same small handful of equations now quietly matches doctors to hospitals, students to schools, and donors to patients, pairing the unmatched, all without a single dollar changing hands. So the next time you hear that something is just math, remember the chain. Remember that a problem knotted up with love, mortality, biology, and law, a problem that money itself was forbidden from solving, was untangled by a few lines of logic written down in 1962. Somewhere right now, a computer is sorting through a web of thousands of patients and donors, searching for the arrangement that saves the most lives, and finding it before you finish reading this sentence. It will not make the news. The people it saves will mostly never know the equation existed. That is the quiet truth about the most important algorithm you have never heard of. It works best when it is invisible. This has been Actually Rendered, where we show you how things actually work. If this changed the way you hear the word algorithm, you know which button to press.